Gold and money don't mean much when the world is filled with zombies. You can't eat either of them, you can't treat an infection with them, and you can't scare anything off with them either. I mean, I guess you could technically throw gold bricks at things if you really wanted to. That being said, when everything collapses, value stops being abstract. It stops being about symbols and numbers and starts being about function. In an end-of-the-world scenario, value shifts away from shiny objects and towards things that keep people alive. And over time, some items fade out while others quietly become the backbone of trade. So today, we're talking about 10 things that are worth more than gold in a zombie apocalypse. Not just survival gear, but items that turn into currency or a high commodity. Stuff people recognize instantly and want. Stuff that they're willing to trade food, protection, or labor for. We're going to kick the list off with items that matter more early on. Right out the gate, we have lighters and matches. I'm just going to bundle those two together since they serve the same purpose. These won't last forever since lighters leak and flint wears down. Matches also get wet, crushed, or moldy. They're temporary luxuries that people are going to want early. During the first weeks and months, people are still going to be cooking normal meals, lighting fires, smoking, and clinging to routines from before everything fell apart. And they're going to want an easy way to facilitate those things. So fire on demand is a convenience and comfort folks will want to have access to. Someone will absolutely trade supplies just to avoid trying to start a fire in bad weather with improvised methods. Later on, the value drops off as people adapt, but early collapse, fire is king. Next on the list we have batteries. Again, this is a luxury people are going to want early on. Anyone dismissing batteries is ignoring how people are actually going to live in the first year of the apocalypse. A lot of the gear people rely on to feel oriented and safe, like flashlights, headlamps, and basic medical devices, run on batteries. They keep surviving pieces of the old world running. They let people see at night, hear news or signals, and maintain some sense of control. And yes, they do expire, which is why this is an early collapse currency. But in that window, they move constantly. A few batteries for a favor, a pack for food. People understand their value immediately, and they're easy to trade in small amounts if you're willing to part with them. Alright, now we're getting to the good stuff. Cigarettes and nicotine. As an ex-smoker of 14 years, I can tell you right now, people will do some pretty unhinged stuff to get their fix in the apocalypse. I'm talking movie villain stuff. Desperate, short-sighted, tunnel vision behavior. And that's exactly why nicotine becomes tradable. Addiction doesn't just disappear because zombies start showing up. If anything, stress, fear, and loss makes it worse. And people will crave nicotine long after everything else is gone. If anything, the cravings are going to hit harder because everything that used to distract us is gone. No work schedule, no gym routine, no normal life to hide inside. It's just you, your nerves, and trying to survive the end of the world. Another reason why nicotine holds value is because it's one of the very few things that could change somebody's mood within minutes. When there's zombies shambling around everywhere wanting to take a bite out of you, that matters a lot. During the first few months, there will likely be a barter market, especially if people are treating the zombie outbreak like it's temporary. They might be thinking they'll just trade early and find more later. But as time passes, nicotine becomes even more valuable. Cigarettes aren't the only form of nicotine that matter though. Chew-on pouches are even better for trade because they're easy to store and they're less fragile than cigarettes. Patches and gum also hold value. Literally any nicotine product. Anyway, if you happen to loot a spot with cigarettes and nicotine around, and you happen to have room in your pack, consider snagging some. They'll be great for trading long term. Next up on the list we have coffee. And take it from someone who drinks 4 to 5 cups per day, this stuff will be a high commodity as well. In my home and native land of Canada, roughly 75% of adults drink it. And in the United States, roughly 70% of the population does there too. I'm sure that's equally as high in most countries. That being said, instant coffee is the best version for trade because it's the most usable coffee in the widest number of situations. And unlike zombies, when you take a sip, it doesn't bite back. It's smooth right away, almost silky like the cup. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm trying to sell you on coffee because coffee's delicious. Anyway, whole beans and grounds sound great until you remember what they demand. You need a grinder or you're chewing rocks. You also need a way to brew it, which usually means filters, a press, a percolator, or at least something to strain it. That's a lot of friction for someone who might be cold, exhausted, and trying to get a quick cup of coffee. Instant skips all that. It's light, compact, and you don't need extra gear to make it. It's the type of coffee where one sip turns into another because it goes down easy, and before you know it, your morning doesn't feel rushed anymore. It just feels right. Okay, I'm done. Man, this is starting to sound like a coffee commercial. Anyway, back to it. It also holds up better for storage if it stays dry and sealed. Grounds can go stale and pick up moisture and odor. Beans can go flat. Instant, especially in single-serve packets or sealed jars, are way easier to keep usable, and that makes it more reliable as a trade item. And for my tea drinkers out there, don't worry, I did not forget about you. Tea is also lightweight, easy to store, and the shelf life is measured in years just as long as it stays dry. So, highly tradable as well. Honestly, pretty much anything with caffeine is going to be highly sought after. Up next, we have soap and hygiene basics. Without hygiene, infections spread, wounds worsen, and a group collapses. In a world where you're constantly getting scratches, cuts, and random grime on you, simple cleanliness becomes a form of protection. Soaps, toothpaste, feminine hygiene supplies, and basic disinfectants stop problems before they even start. Early on, people trade these casually. Later, the groups that skip them are a lot smaller than they should be. That alone drives value up, so keep an eye out for this stuff. Now we move on to the stuff that is valuable on day 1 and only gets scarier to live without. Antibiotics and critical meds, especially the sealed stuff. Infections don't care about zombies. People get cut, burned, sick, and injured regardless of zombies being around. Something as minor as a scratch can turn fatal without treatment. A sealed bottle of antibiotics can be the difference between someone living or dying weeks later. That kind of value never disappears. It only increases as supplies dry up. As long as people are alive, medicine remains priceless. Next on the list is ammunition, especially common calibers, stuff like 9mm, 22, 5.56, and 12 gauge. Ammo most people own firearms for, because ammunition is about defense, deterrence, and security. Folks want to protect themselves, their families, and whatever supplies they've managed to secure, especially early on when all hell's breaking loose and it's total chaos. As the collapse drags on, ammo starts doing something else though. It becomes currency. It's universally understood. Everyone wants it and everyone needs it. Just make sure you trust who you're trading with, because the last thing you want to do is arm your enemies. Up next, we have alcohol. This is one of the best long-term barter items out there. Pretty much stores indefinitely. It doesn't spoil, it survives heat, cold, and neglect better than most items. And it trades across every group. Drinkers, non-drinkers, scavengers, settlements, loners, everyone understands its value instantly. Alcohol has multiple uses. Drinking, disinfecting wounds, pain management, fuel, morale, or liquid courage when you have to do something absolutely crazy. Or a good old-fashioned Molotov. A bottle of hard liquor can open doors that ammo can't. Alright, next up is salt, which is quietly one of the most important long-term items on the list. Early on, when all hell is breaking loose, people are going to ignore salt, because they'll be too busy looting other stuff. Not you though, you'll be filling your pockets with it. A lot of people don't realize how many problems salt can solve. It's one of the simplest ways to preserve food once power is gone, especially meat, fish, and anything you can't eat right away. It's also important for basic health, since people sweating, working, eating poorly still need electrolytes to function. Over time, especially inland, salt becomes harder to replace, since you can't just improvise it without access to the coast or specialized gear. It doesn't rot either, it doesn't fall apart, and it keeps doing its job year after year. Long after shelves are empty, salt ends up fixing problems people didn't even know were coming. And last but not least, we have seeds. If you want to have a future in the apocalypse, you'll need them. This is where barter turns into the future. Seeds aren't about today, they're about the next season and the one after that. As scavenging dies out, renewable food sources become everything. Seeds are compact, tradable, and only grow more value as time passes. The longer the collapse drags on, the more seeds stop being an item and start being leveraged. So when people ask you what's worth more than gold at the end of the world, the answer is simple. Early on, value comes from convenience and familiar comforts like fire, batteries, nicotine, caffeine, and hygiene. Later, value shifts towards durability and long-term leverage like ammo, alcohol, salt, and seeds, and medicine. Currency doesn't disappear in the apocalypse, it just changes shape. And the people who understand that early don't just survive longer, they thrive. So if the world just so happens to end tomorrow, make sure you load up on this stuff, because using it to barter just might save your life. Alright guys, if you made it to the end, as always, I appreciate that, and YouTube thinks you'll like this video. If you've already seen it, I got a playlist of a lot more just like it. Till next time guys, cheers.